Good evening once again, my little soldier. Yes, I'll be putting you to bed again tonight. I do hope that won't be a problem, will it? I was told you didn't sleep well after the last time. I see. I'm a little concerned that my story had the opposite effect of the intended. I had hoped that you'd see what a wonderful opportunity you've been given. By all accounts, you were destined for a life of poverty, crime, and misery. I wanted you to be able to appreciate living in a place with servants and tutors, and a whole empire to inherit someday. I will admit that perhaps it wasn't the best way to tell you that you were adopted. I thought that perhaps you already had suspected, given that we look so different from each other. Not to mention that I'm unmarried and never mentioned another parent to you. But instead, it seems to have been a troubling revelation for you. It's not a completely unreasonable reaction, little soldier. So often royalty go on and on about bloodlines. Perhaps you're feeling inadequate now that you know we don't share our blood. You have nothing to worry about if that's the case. I never believed that bloodlines were an important concept. It's how one is raised that determines the kind of person they are, not their lineage. And I raised you to be nothing short of the best. I have heard other things since that night. I heard that perhaps you have been asking your servants and tutors about your biological parents. You were never good at lying. A failure on my part, no matter how convenient it is for me when it comes to parenting. So, you're curious, are you? It's not surprising, and yet I do find it worrying. No good will come of asking questions about such unsavory people. That's part of the reason I'm putting you to bed again tonight, actually. I'm led to believe that some of your questions were actually answered. None of the servants personally confessed to the crime, so I was forced to get rid of all of them. Yes, all of them, I'm afraid. Even your dear nursemaid, Ethel. I know how much you loved her. But she's been here longer than she ought to have been already. You're too old to be attached to mere servants. Your new servants will arrive tomorrow. These ones should be a little more professional, shall we say. They'll know better than to carelessly share harmful ideas with you, and they shouldn't know anything about the subject anyway. I was afraid you'd react this way. That's why I prepared another story. This one was crafted by me personally. There once was a soldier, a brave, noble soldier, who served valiantly in the army of a grand, noble empire. The soldier was well respected by their peers, and most believed it was only a matter of time before they were promoted to an officer. Every morning, the soldier would wake up early to train. They put their heart and soul into perfecting their swordplay, and trained with as many weapons and in as many conditions as possible. They ate well in order to maintain a strong body, and they obeyed every order given to them. This life, though simple, made them happy, happier than most people could ever hope to be, because they were devoted to a noble cause, and had their eyes fixed on a worthy goal. But one day they heard their commander tell a story about a cursed treasure. The story was meant to be a cautionary tale about greed and imprudence. But the soldier found themselves entranced. A small part of their heart that was not devoted to their duty took hold of the story, and they thought of it over and over. The danger and allure of this treasure enchanted them. They started to stay up late into the night, dreaming of ways to find this treasure and dispel the curse so that they could take it for themselves. It will surely not surprise you to hear that this began to affect the soldiers' training. They would wake up later and later, and even then spend a good portion of the morning daydreaming about the treasure. Even when their sword was in hand, their thoughts were still with this accursed plunder of legend. Of course, the soldier knew that they weren't training as hard as they were before. But, in their eagerness to chase their fanciful dreams, they decided that it didn't matter all that much. I'm an excellent soldier, they thought. So why should I worry about improving? This was the worst thing a soldier could think. Muscles and skill don't last. If you don't maintain them, they'll disappear. And enemy armies are always striving to gain an edge over you. If you're not moving forward, then they're catching up. And so, the soldier fell behind. Once the pride of the army, they became dead weight. And, inevitably, as it always does, war came to the Empire. The soldier was ill-prepared for actual combat. They struggled in every battle, and their commanding officer relegated them to the least important positions where they wouldn't cause any problems. The soldier began to miss the pride they had once felt in their service, but felt that it was too late. Now, set to the side where they never had to do anything, all they could do was dream of their treasure, which seemed less appealing every day. Until one particular battle. The enemy had been steadily pushing their army back until they were nearly on the threshold of the imperial capital. Every available soldier was assembled to hold the line and defend their home. Even in the state they were in, the soldier felt a spark of bravery return to themselves. They still loved their homeland, and so with effort they set aside their dreams of treasure as the enemy fell upon them. But it was far, far too late. Their body and mind had been weakened by months of laziness. The soldier fell to the very first enemy they faced, and the line was broken. The enemy pushed through the Empire's final defense, and their beautiful capital was razed to the ground. The last story I told you was a true story. This one hasn't happened. Yet. You're a sharp child. I'm sure you can understand the metaphor here, don't you? Indeed. You, little soldier, need to work your very hardest all the time, because unlike the soldier in the story, you will be more than mere infantry. I plan to place you in charge of my army someday, and then the entire empire. To be ready for such a monumental task, you must be constantly vigilant. These fanciful thoughts you have about your birth parents are a distraction. I'm sure that you wonder about the life you might have lived, and what they might have been like. But you should banish such thoughts from your head. When did you become so arrogant? You dare ask me the very question I just told you to abandon? But perhaps that's the best way to handle this. I'll satisfy your curiosity then, so you can move on. The parent I mentioned in the first story was your mother. She was a terrible woman, leading my subjects to crave for more than the peace and order I granted them. She had lofty ideas about equality and freedom. meaningless concepts that are only used to stir up rebellion. She looked quite a bit like you, I must say. I don't know where she is now. However, I'm reasonably certain that she's dead. I sent hundreds of soldiers to scour every corner of the Empire to look for her. After all these years, she hasn't appeared to create another rebellion or try and reach out to you. If she's not dead, then she's moved on to some other poor nation to cause trouble there. Either way, I'm sure you'll never meet her again. I know nothing about your father, and I doubt either of us ever will. If I were to guess, not even your mother knew. She struck me as the type to spend nights with a variety of men. You seem to resent that idea. Watch yourself, child. Such a rebellious attitude will surely lead to an end like the one in my story. That's not what you want, is it? As long as you understand. I hope you know that everything I do for you. It would mean a great deal to me if you could just show your gratitude for my kindness by obeying me. Turn your mind to your studies and don't think about those people anymore. They have nothing to do with you, not really. Good night, my little soldier. I hope that tomorrow we can put all this behind us and go back to the way things used to be.